Now that we have our basic stuff in place, we need to add some movement to the paddle and to the ball. So I'm going to the code and I need to add a variable for that. Image builder, so I'm gonna add a variable for the paddle and a constant also. Let paddle movement equals 0, and I'm gonna add a constant to the paddle speed. I think it would be 0.04 for now. And I need also a different way to capture the input of the keyboard to know that I need to move the paddle to the left or to the right. In babylon.js we have a function that we can use to accept input events. In this case I need to call the scene, and we have a function called on keyboard observable. Yes, that's one. And I'm gonna add a function to that observable. I'm gonna add another function here, and I'm gonna accept the keyboard info. Right? So this is the way that the scene will capture all the input events or the keyboard events. We need the keyboard event because I need to know when I press or release a key. And I need to get two main events that I want. Info type. So I want to know what kind of event I have, and keyboard event types that key DOM. I need to know when I press a key, and I need to know also when I release a key. I think those are the most basics. When I press a key, in this case the letter A and the letter D, I want the paddle to move. So I just need to add another switch here. And I'll be adding keyboard info, event key, so what happens when I press A? Or A. So if I press A, I want to move the paddle to the left. In this case, paddle movement, it will equals paddle speed, right? But remember, if we want to move that to the left, I need to add negative numbers. So I'm going to change that. So if I press A, I will add a negative speed to the movement, and I'm going to do almost the same for the letter D. If I press the D key, I want the paddle movement to be positive. So, but what happens when I release the key? Well, when I release the key, I don't want the paddle to move, so I need to change the value again. I'm gonna copy the code, this switch here, I'm gonna paste it here, and if I release one of those keys, I just want the paddle movement to be 0. That means I don't want that to be to have any positive or negative value. I just want I just want to avoid the movement of the paddle when I release any key, or the E or the D. So with that, what happens if I save again and I go to the browser? So I cannot move the paddle yet. Why? Well, because I haven't added that value to the paddle, right? So I just set the values here that I need to use, but I haven't changed the position of the paddle yet. So if I go to this same method at the end, and for instance, I create paddle position data x plus equals paddle movement. So if I go now to the scene or to the browser and I press the A or D key, I'm gonna move the paddle, right? I need to set some limit just to not go beyond the walls or the margin, but this is working now. So I have an issue here because I was telling you in the previous video that I need to make all the updates inside an update function that will be on the main loop. If you can see here, this function here, it's part of the scene, right? But I don't know if that is inside the main loop. So I assume that this is outside the main loop and it will be executed when I have an event of the type of keyboard. But I don't want that. I just want to execute this logic here inside the game loop. Here, before we render whatever we have in the scene, before I render something, I want to make all the updates here inside. Not to be outside on other events. I want them to be here inside my game loop. That's what I want. So what I'll do here is that I'm going to remove this piece of code. This was just to show you that it is working, but I want that to be here inside. If I copy here, it will be the same, but this won't belong to the event anymore. So when I have an event, I'm just going to change the paddle movement variable for a negative or a positive number, which will check here, that will be added here. So in every tick or every loop, the position will be updated with the value of the paddle movement. That's why if I release a key, it will be 0. If I have a 0 value, then won't be moved. So if I save again the file and I go to the browser, I can check that it's working, and it's even faster. Can you see? So in the previous example, when I was pressing the E or the D key, it was just moving the paddle accordingly to the events of the keyboard. In this case, it doesn't, because this is moving the paddle depending on the value that we have set, and this is moving every game tick inside the game loop. That's why it's important to know that all the updates need to be inside the game loop. So I just need to set again the limits for this, because I don't want it to be moved beyond the margin here or the white lines that we set. I go to the code again. I have to go to the code, and I can just put a condition here for the paddle movement, and I can say something like if paddle movement is different than 0, I want that to be moved. Otherwise, it will be always executing this. Even if this value is 0, it won't be moved. We know, but I just want to improve this a little bit. I just want to move that when the value is different than 0 to know that I can move it. But when I move the paddle, I just need to check again if the paddle movement is less than 0. It means that it will move to the left, and the paddle position in the x-axis is less or equal to, let's say, 2. Let's see what happens with the value of 2. Well, my paddle position and here, and paddle position it's less than -2. So I just want this, my paddle position in the x, I want to be equals to 2. That means if I'm moving to the left and the paddle position it's less or equals than -2, I don't want to move, I don't want the paddle to move more than that. I don't want that. So if I go to the code again and I press the E key for the left and I go here, I cannot move beyond the 2. That's my limit now, but I'm passing, I'm in the center right of the margin, so I need to change that. I will set -1.5. I'm gonna change that here, and I'm gonna just add a different for the right. So I'm gonna just copy this again, but if the pedal movement is bigger than 1.5 and the pedal position X is bigger or equals the 1.5, I want that to be 1.5, right? And this will be only executed after we move the paddle, or we change the position of the paddle with the paddle movement. And after we move that, we need to change or to establish some limits. And after we change the paddle, we're gonna render whatever we are updated. We have updating. If I go now to the code, I can just move to the left. That's fine. That's the limit I want. And if I move to the right, it's not working. Why? Let me check the code again. And if paddle move, this is wrong. It's bigger than 0 and paddle position more than 1.5, and it will set a 1.5. Okay, that's fine. Let me go to the code again. If I move to the right, then that's the limit I want. I want just the paddle to move between the margins here, and that's fine. This is what I want. And now we added movement to the paddle. We need to add the movement to the ball now, but for that we need to check on some collisions. We're gonna start looking at that in the next video.